Into resilience. The first key to resilience, the first key factor that we've looked at over the last 2 weeks is being surrounded by a healthy mesh of supportive relationships. Wonderful. We need relationships. It is not good for us to be alone, God said, right? That was the very first thing in creation in Genesis 1 and 2 that was not good. It was not good for us to be alone, God says. We were made for relationships, wired for it. Right? The Bible backs this up over and over again. The research backs this up. We were made for each other, to be in connection, to be in supportive, healthy relationship. My experience backs that up as well. I've been sustained through many difficult times because of the wonderful relationships, the friendships, the family members that have been there for me. So a healthy mesh of supportive relationships makes us more resilient. But that is not the only thing that makes us more resilient. In fact, the key to resilience that I want to talk about today is actually about knowing when and how to be alone. I thought we just said it's not good to be alone. But today, I'm going to talk to you, about a different type of being alone. Not being lonely, not being isolated or disconnected in relationships, right? It's not good to be alone for life, but it is good to be alone at times for the sake of rest and quiet. Okay? So it's not good to be alone in life, to be isolated and disconnected in our relationships, but it is good to intentionally take time to be alone, to rest, to have quiet, for reflection, for solitude, to recharge ourselves for the rest of life. So the second key to resilience I want to talk about today, hang on now. Where'd it go? Huh? There it is. A regular rhythm of rest and practices that quiet our souls. That is what I want to talk about today. And going back to this verse here, so Jesus in the Gospels, in the Gospel of Luke alone, Jesus gets away 9 times for quiet. There are 9 recorded times in that Gospel alone. And in this passage, Jesus invites his disciples to come with him for that rest. Then because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, okay? These guys had a full schedule. They were busy, these disciples. Didn't even have time to eat. So Jesus said to them, come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. If we're going to be resilient, we're going to need to know how to rest. A regular rhythm of rest and practices that quiet our souls. Resilient people know when it is time to get away from the hustle, the bustle, and get some peace and quiet. Resilient people know when and how to rest. Okay, I want to break down this phrase. We're going to get into practices that quiet our souls at the end. I'm going to start talking about this rhythm of rest. I chose that phrase intentionally, a rhythm of rest. There's a reason we have a 5-day work week, right? There's a reason we have a Sabbath day, right? We might have Sabbath seasons, right? Vacations, but vacations are only vacations when they happen occasionally, when they happen in rhythm. And Sabbath and weekends are special because they don't happen every day. We've got 5 days to work. We've got the weekend to rest. We've got the Sabbath to unplug. We're wired to work and then rest. In fact, work actually makes rest more satisfying, right? If you're a kid in here, or if you're somebody who remembers being a kid, summer holidays, how good was that month of July? It's phenomenal. It was just like, oh, freedom. I'm like, this is it. This is existence. I wish this could be all the time. I wish every month could be July. Yeah, but then July wouldn't be July. And then you reach the end of August, and it's like, holy smokes, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I want to go back to school. I can't believe I want to go back, right? This rhythm, a rhythm of rest. So, for that reason, I want to talk about underworking versus overworking, okay? Because of the way we're wired, because of the way God made us, the answer is not to underwork, is not to just spend all of our time resting, because then rest is less satisfying. And in fact, if you underwork or you're under-challenged in a job you're bored, it leads to a loss of self-esteem, purposelessness, and depression. Right? You almost get too low when you rest for too long, when you're down for too long. There's this low emotion that comes in. Again, the research backs this up, but the research also talks about overworking, which they've concluded is more than 50 hours, okay? 50 plus hours of work leads to a risk of anxiety, burnout, heart disease, and just a shorter lifespan. Overworking, overdoing it actually isn't the answer either, right? We need a proper rhythm, a rhythm of rest. And a proper rhythm of rest, in fact, has its own benefits. So there's downsides to underworking, there's downsides to overworking, but if we can live in that very difficult, elusive middle, right? It's not easy for us to get there. We're often going in seasons, right? Back and forth between overworking and underworking. That's very, very common. It's common in my life. It's really hard to kind of get in the equilibrium middle. But working towards a proper rhythm of rest helps reduce stress and inflammation in your body, literally, right? The inflammation in your body, sometimes the injuries, the neck pains, the back pains, can decrease, again, with that proper rhythm of rest. It boosts creativity, improves your decision-making, and enhances your life and work satisfaction. We were made for a proper rhythm of rest. Really puts commands like keep the Sabbath in perspective. It's actually a merciful gift to us, right? We were not made for it, but it was made for us, a gift to us to rest. But the issue actually extends beyond just taking a weekend or taking a vacation, right? If it was just, I set aside time, boom, done. Now I have a healthy life. Well, what do you do with that time? And in that time, are you able to be at rest on the inside? Or, like me, have you spent many Sabbaths or weekends or evenings off just sitting on the couch scrolling your phone for a couple hours and wondering where the time went? Right? There's a difference between just taking the time to rest and actually having rest on the inside. That's where we're going to focus the rest of the message. How do you get that sense of rest on the inside, the inner quiet? That inner quiet's becoming more and more elusive in our society today. Back in 2007, there was a study done on over 20,000 Christians. This is specifically a study done on Christians, 20,000 Christians around the world. And it's called the Obstacles to Growth Survey. The Obstacles to Growth Survey. They found that the number one obstacle to spiritual growth for Christians was busyness or this sense of inner hurry. This disquiet, this frantic rushing from task to task. And for me, nothing exemplifies my rushing from task to task more than when I'm texting and driving. Big confession. Just that image, where is it? Like that I'm willing to risk safety for the sake of busyness. Like whoever I'm texting can't wait until I get to my destination. That inner franticness. I'm not just talking about there's not just talking about a full schedule, but really this disquiet that causes us to, quickly, I have to do this, I have to multitask, right? I have to. They also found in this survey, 60% of Christians say they are often or always busy. The 6 in 10 Christians. Again, I wonder if that's higher today, right? Because life has increased often in busyness. Right? This was 2007. This was actually before these. So not only is this often or always busy, was again linked to this kind of inability to connect with God and quiet on the inside. Finally, they found, and this is very fascinating to me personally, they rated the top 3, again, this is a survey, so you're self-reporting, the 3 professions that felt the busiest in their life and on the inside were lawyers, doctors, and pastors. I could self-report that, especially 5 years ago. I would report this constant hurry on the inside. And I find this incredibly tragic and ironic that the people like me who should be leading the charge on spiritual rest, on finding God in the quiet, are actually often unable to do it themselves. Well-known pastor Dallas Willard, Dallas Willard, famous author, he said that you must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life because hurry is the great enemy of the spiritual life. Hurry, right? Not, some boogeyman of the culture or something out there. It's something in here. It's our inability to quiet and be still with God. Because we're feeling restless, distracted, and again, because there's something that is a significant factor, I think, in our loss of inner quiet. I want to talk about the elephone in the room. Go ahead and pull your phone out. If you've got your phone, pull out your phone. Yeah, it should have been away in your purses or underneath your pew. So you're paying attention to me. So you got your phone here. Now, in 2023, the average person checked their phone 150 times a day. It's the average. I think I'm actually above that. I'm above that. Know that for sure. It's for my job, right? Can I use that as an excuse? And like I said, I can use that as an excuse even while I'm driving, right? 150 times a day. Take your phone, everybody, and go 1, 2, 3. Go ahead. 150. No, just get an arm workout, bicep curl, 150 reps, even with a light phone. That might actually get a burn. 150 times a day. You don't have to do it 150 times. But every single time we are checking, there's a potential of missing something else. Again, I am not advocating for us to all throw our phones in the Red River, but to develop some healthy boundaries, 150 times a day, I think perhaps this can contribute to my sense of hurry and distraction. In fact, I know that it can. Changes my ability to focus, right? When my phone can access me so easily and so often. I want you to just humor me. I'm gonna watch a video here. I don't know if it's gonna be on the side screens or not, but it's certainly, it is. Oh, wonderful. You're a wizard, Ken. Okay, here we go. Please, just watch this video in its entirety. Watch the whole thing. Let him go. There he goes. Okay. Stop. Oh, I got him to stop. How many of you put your hand up if you watch the whole thing without looking away once? Yeah, not about half, maybe? Ooh, less than half, a third. So before the advent of smartphones in every pocket, the average person had a 12-second attention span. Today it's down to 8. And just so you know, that video was exactly 9 seconds long because that's the attention span of a goldfish. So we're losing to goldfish now. We're so easily distracted, right? Our brains are being trained. Look here, look there, look here, look there. It's hard to just sit in stillness for an extended period of time. I actually wrote a psalm. Let's see if I can, here we go. I know, it's very sad, our culture today, wow. I'm sorry. We can do better, I promise. I'm just gonna do this, I'm gonna read this Psalm of Codependency that I wrote on about my phone. My phone and I work together. We have fun together. My phone is there when I'm bored, when I'm lonely. When I go to bed, it's there. When I get up, it's there. Where can I flee from its presence? If I make my bed on the couch or drop my drawers in the stall, it is there. Could probably go on, but I won't. How about some boundaries, huh? We can do it. We can do it. I know the phone's a powerful tool, but if I can never stop using it, perhaps I'm the one being used. Perhaps I'm the tool in this relationship. And perhaps, instead of dealing with every challenge, every overwhelming emotion by going to something entertaining, I could turn to something reflective, something relational. I could be invited and accept the invitation of Jesus to go to a quiet place and get some rest. I want to talk now about practices for quieting our souls. Let's talk about these practices. We're going to start with a classic, prayer. Prayer. What a novelty. For hundreds of years, the Christian tradition has practiced prayer as a way of quieting the soul, as a way of slowing down, finding rest. However, in our modern, fast-paced, formula-driven society, we've even turned prayer sometimes into a hurried task, checklist to complete, rather than a place to rest. Remember that study earlier on how pastors are some of the most hurried people? This is translated into the way that we have presented prayer, or that it's become something that actually doesn't slow us down, but can even speed us up. And so on behalf of pastors, I apologize if prayer has ever been a burden for you rather than a place to release your burdens, because that's what prayer was meant to be. Not as another way to work, but as a way to rest from your work. Put that on screen for you note takers. Not a way to work, but a way to rest from our work. That's what prayer is meant to be, the quiet with God. Of course, there's different types of prayer, gratitude, intercession, all those types of things. But really, this invitation of prayer is more needed today than ever. The invitation of Jesus to come, all those who are weary and burdened, and he'll give us rest. That passage, Matthew chapter 11, it's a famous passage. I'm going to show it to you in the Message translation. I love what Eugene Peterson did with the Message translation for this passage. Are you tired? You worn out? Burned out on religion? I like that. Come to me. Get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Sassy Jesus. I like that. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Right? You think that, a couple hours on social media helps slow you down? No, let me show you. Let me show you something to really quiet your soul and give you rest. Here's the next part. Walk with me and work with me. Again, beautiful. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. Could spend a whole message in this passage. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Wow. Sign me up. Sign me up for that. I want to highlight the keep company with me. Keep company with me. Just be with me. We don't need an agenda. We don't need a checklist. Come, invite you. Words, we don't have to use words. We just breathe. Do nothing other than sit and keep company with each other. There's a famous interview that was done with Mother Teresa where the reporter asked her what she said when she prayed. And she said, I don't say anything, I listen. And so the reporter said, okay, what does God say to you? And she said, he doesn't say anything, he listens. And if you don't understand that, I can't explain it to you, is what she followed up that with. I don't say anything, he doesn't say anything. We're just together. It's just quiet. Stillness is okay. It's uncomfortable. Absolutely it is uncomfortable. But it is good for our souls to simply be still with God. God thought of this, by the way. Revealed it to David. Be still and know that I'm God. Whew, amen. Be still. Slow down. It's okay. Life will speed up again. You go through different days, different seasons. It's fine. You don't always have to be at rest. You don't always have to be working. Come find the unforced rhythms of grace. In February for my birthday, my wife bought me 90 minutes in a float tank. What is a float tank, you ask? It is a portal to another dimension. And that dimension is called quiet. I rarely go there. That's why I say it's another dimension. It's hard to get real stillness and real quiet. But inside this giant coffin filled with 900 pounds of salt and water, it's just totally dead quiet. Still. And you know what you do? Nothing. You do nothing. I think I fell asleep, but I can't remember because it all looks the same and feels the same. I'm not sure, but I am sure that I walked out of that place more quiet, connected with God, still in my soul. I didn't have a big revelation from God. There wasn't some big moment like that. It was just, was it ever slowing for me? I think afterwards, I didn't look at my phone for like 2 hours. Katrina and I went on a date afterwards, and I just like, I want to see that thing. Her and I need a break. I just put her aside. Just focus. Enjoy this. How often do we get quiet like that? It's hard. It was hard for sure. It was like fasting from noise. I'm so used to the noise. I'm so used to the franticness. But this was different. And it reminded me of a psalm. It's a famous psalm. Maybe some of you have memorized it. My son's memorizing it right now. It is this: the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He restores my soul. That's the resilience. Right? How do we get it? We take time to lie down and be still. And God will restore our souls. This is why having that regular rhythm, those practices, right, is so key to resilience. If we can slow down, we can recharge. We can get our energy back. We can have our souls restored. But we need to slow down. And if we don't do it, it seems like it will be done for us, okay? It would seem that God can make us lie down. I mean, after all, that's what the passage says. Have you ever noticed that? It's profound to me. God makes me lie down. If I don't want to do it, maybe he'll make me do it. If I don't want to lie down, maybe like a dog being trained to sit, just come on, down already, slow down. I want to restore your soul. And that making you lie down can be a gentle reminder. It can be a book that you read on rest. It can be a podcast. It could be a sermon about rest that says, hey, wow, that's a good reminder. Maybe I will practice that in my life. But sometimes it is not so gentle. Sometimes life just seems to make us lie down. Whether that's a failed business, a burnout, an injury, an illness, right? I remember when I had a snowboarding accident. I broke my shoulder, I rotated my hips, I was just wrecked. I had to slow down. I was forced to rest. Now, of course, not every injury or illness or failure is because of a lack of rest, but certainly a lack of rest can lead to burnout or illness. If we don't take time, the time may be made for us. So, let's look at some of these restful practices. Okay, we're going to go through these pretty quick. They are ideas. There are all kinds of ways to quiet and slow down and get that stillness that we're talking about. So the first category, I put them in broad categories. First one's nature, okay? We love nature. We love getting out in it. So whether it's going for a walk, whether it's gardening, hunting, some people love just being yamsed into a tree stand for hours on end, and it's restful for them. Not for me. Some people. Or biking, and I mean, like, of course, cycling, but some people like to just ride, right? Just get out and ride. I always remember that example that Chris has shared before in messages. I have no idea who this even is, but getting out on a dirt bike, like that was quiet time with God. That was quiet time with God. Helmet on, just ripping, sending it, just enjoying being out there, and that's when the mind could finally be still, could finally rest, find what works for you. Also, try and do these if you're really trying to get rest. Don't multitask. Don't multitask. I am the worst at that. I'm listening to a podcast constantly. The other day, I was listening to a podcast while I was giving my kids a bath. You know how that ended. Yes, it was bath in the phone. Wait, bath in the phone. Phone in the bath. It's constant. I need something, stimulus, distraction, noise, right? Always. Try going for a walk without the headphones in. See what you hear. See how slow you go, right? Try it without multitasking. Do one thing at a time. Okay, next category is, I'm just gonna call it art. There's all kinds of different art. And I put craft there, not like necessarily arts and crafts, but also crafting, whether it's woodworking or pottery, something with your hands where you're making something, you're creating, right? Whether that's through dance, crafting, music, visual arts, and you don't necessarily have to, like for me, I can't really do any of these things. I should walk back over here. I can't. I won't. I can't. I can do a little bit, and I definitely can't. But I definitely appreciate other people's art, right? Again, the multitasking thing, try listening to a beautiful album that has nostalgic value to you and just doing that. Not doing it while you're doing something else, but just listening to a piece of music, a piece of art. I bought a book about half a year ago. It's called Prayer, super original title. I would recommend it. It's just 40 pictures, okay? It's literally just 40 pictures. This is 40 days of practice, but it's not filled with a bunch of words and tasks. It's literally just pictures to look at and reflect on and think, what does it tell me about God? What does it tell me about me? It's just a little prompt to get you started, and then you reflect on the image. Beautiful, very slowing activity. Speaking of slowing activities, the final category, I just put them in a bucket called focus activities. Things that are, you're doing something, whether it's journaling, reading, and reflecting. I do this every morning. I love the morning quiet time with journaling, with reading. Also, but again, I can speed up. I can put a podcast on while I'm journaling. That's, how distracted I can get. So in the last few years, I actually tried just lighting a candle to start. It's like very simple. I came downstairs. I put the coffee on, of course. It's the first task of the day. I put that coffee on, and then I would light a candle. And I like my coffee to sit for a while and get nice and strong. I have one of those AeroPresses, you know what I'm saying? I leave it upside down, it gets nice and strong. And I would light the candle, and it was a woodwick candle. It's a woodwick candle. So not only could I see it flickering, I would just sit there, and instead of looking at something else, I would look at this candle. I would see it flickering, see the light. I would hear it. I would hear the crackling. I would smell. Oh, it's all the senses. Sorry, Chris. Yeah. I would smell it. I could hear it, I could see it, it focused me, it focused my mind. I'm like, oh, okay, now I can breathe, right? I literally just put breathe up there. Something to slow you down, one moment at a time. Now, these are all activities that we should set aside specific time for, right? I go for long walks at this time, right? I have quiet time for this part of the morning or this part of the evening. This is when I do one of these tasks. I set aside time for it. But there's another category that is actually about slowing down while we go about life, right? We want to take breaks, but we also just want to live slower on a regular basis. So I'm going to challenge you here. You ready? Drive the speed limit. Ew, exactly. Oh, Chris and I have talked lots about this, the speed limit thing. What do you say? You have to leave 10 minutes early for all your appointments now?
4 days without road rage.
4 days without road rage. I was telling him we need to get him like a sober chip, like this amount of sobriety, 4 days. So he's been leaving, 10 minutes early because we get so used to like one thing to the next. I'm like, okay, I have 5 minutes to get to this appointment. It's like across Steinbach. Because I've done whatever I was doing previously, I did it right to the buzzer, and then I've got to book it, then I've got to run to the next thing, right? Don't leave ourselves margin. And so then we wonder, and we blame other people, right? You get up behind somebody who's driving, unconscionable. How could they be driving the speed limit? Why can't they break the law because I didn't schedule my life correctly? I'm not preaching at you, I'm preaching at me. I am a speeder. I'm a speeder, and I'm a choose the shorter lineup person. Always. My goodness, the drive-through, McDonald's, the car wash, even at a stoplight, you pull up to a stoplight, which one's shorter? I gotta be the right one. Gotta get the right. Right? Oh my goodness. Imagine that sense of hurry. I couldn't imagine living in the US or someplace with 8-lane highways. There's 8 options to choose from. Which one's the fastest? I have to be in the fastest one. We live very fast. We live very fast. So try it. Try one of these. Or, like we've been talking about a lot, try limiting your phone use. Give it a whirl. Here's a couple ideas. Hey, you, fan club. Shh. Love you. Okay. So, do not disturb, screen time. It's all there, right? It's in there. Go old school. Stick your phone in a drawer for when you come home from work, right? Try an afternoon without it. Some people, there's a book called Digital Minimalism. They talk about the Amish hour. Have a full hour before bed, no screens. You guys all laugh at that. The Amish hour. Full hour before bed. Shh. No screens. Gosh, it's like a youth audience. Everyone's giggling. It's like a youth night. Okay. However you choose to do it. Oh, wait a minute. This is my challenge, right? Here it is. Try to leave your phone in the car for the next errand that you run. This is a really tangible thing you can do. Tried it at the chiropractor the other day. I was like, wow, I've never noticed how many cheesy motivational posters there are in this office. It's all I had to look at. Try it. It's actually crazy because at first, there's like a nervous tick. You're like, oh, you're checking. Where did I put my phone? Oh yeah, I left it in the car. It's actually an intentional choice that I made, but still, it's so automatic for me to reach for it whenever I'm bored, whenever I'm lonely. Just try it. And then see what your brain's like, what do I do instead? Do it enough times, you'll find, oh, wait a minute. I could talk to a human beside me, also waiting to get knocked. I could stop and think. I could plan out, my evening with my family. I'm just sitting here. It's fine. Okay. However you choose to do it, please find a way to accept Jesus' invitation to a quiet place and get yourself some rest. Slow down. I know it's hard. We all go through different seasons of busyness and stress in life. We all try and find different things that work for us to rest. I mean, ironically, figuring out how to rest can be a lot of work at first, right? Until you find your rhythm. But it's worth it. Because if we don't learn, we might be forced to rest. I'm going to end here. I didn't indicate, but keys can come up at this time too. If we got the keys behind me. How many of you remember the early days of the pandemic? Fond memories, I know. Schools closed, sports canceled, working from home in our underwear. But, nice timing. Really reflect on what I just said. There was something really positive about those early days. Again, I'm going to acknowledge this. There was so many hard things about 2020 and 2021. But there was something that I heard from friends, I heard from family members, I heard from people at the grocery store. Man, this is like a forced rest. Remember hearing this? Somebody called it a global Sabbath once. It was actually I was hearing a lot of Christian leaders early on. It was like, hey, let's use this as an opportunity. This is beautiful. We could use this to change, right? We could use this to slow down. Obviously, it evolved in a whole bunch of different directions, right? But did we pay attention? Did we learn to slow down? I was working 6 days a week before the pandemic. At a ministry event pretty much every evening. I was running on fumes. I was pretty happy. I liked what I did at church. But I had a young family. So at the time I was getting away with it, being away every evening. We weren't at the age where they were like, Daddy, you have to go back to work again? I wasn't quite there yet, so I was just running. I was running 1,000,000 miles an hour. Like I said, 6 days a week. Furthermore, I had no real hobbies or shared interests with my wife or my kids. May seem like a small thing, but actually hobbies restore our soul, right? That's what we looked at before, those practices. Many of them are hobbies we have in our life. When the lockdown hit, I was suddenly faced with way more time at home than I knew what to do with. So what do I do now? I was forced to rest. And it took a while, but over time, that season restored my soul. I've shared a little bit of this, but I literally during that time, because of the rest, because of the just living and being rather than always doing, I shed like a lifelong struggle, addiction, like so much of it just sloughed off because I was learning how to be in rhythm and rest. Also, it restored my marriage because we actually did things that we loved together all of a sudden. We're going for bike rides, doing yard work together, listening to stories, sitting by the fire, building Lego with our kids. And again, this might not sound like life-altering activities. Like, kid, why are you crying? You're just building Lego with your kids. You're just going for a bike ride with your wife. It's huge. Those are my green pastures. Those are my still waters. And I had to fight to hold on to those as the world went back to spinning its usual rate. And yes, I did a lot of reading, praying, breathing, and just being with God in that season as well. Now, it would be tragic to talk about resting and quieting for a half hour and not spend any time together resting and quieting. So, if you're able to now, I invite you to close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Jesus says, come with me to a quiet place and get some rest. With your eyes closed and just steady breathing, I want you to imagine a quiet place for you. Maybe you have a specific place. Maybe it's by a lake, at your cabin, or a friend's, family members. Maybe it's on a specific walk that you take, a habit that you have. Maybe it's a special room or a chair in your house. Where is the quiet place for you? Once you're there, I want you to just look around. What else is there? What makes you feel calm and at rest? What do you hear? What sounds are there in this quiet place? Maybe it's actually nothing, and that's what makes it so wonderful. Is there anything that you feel or smell, right? Sand on your feet, candle burning. Sit in that quiet place just for another 30 seconds. Jesus, I thank you for the quiet place, for the unforced rhythms of grace, for the relationship that we can have with you that helps us to regulate, literally regulate our souls, find rest, renew our life, renew our energy, so that we can go and do the things that you've called us to do. God, we need the energy, the rest for all that life throws at us. Help us to find times, activities, habits that recharge us, practices that quiet our souls and bring us to a place of rest and restoration. Amen. Amen. So wonderful to be with you all here today. I'm just going to give a quick book recommendation. Obviously, parents are leaving first, but if you were like, oh, this topic, I need to dive into it more. This was a big inspiration for my sermon. This book is by John Mark Comer. It's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. If you don't like books, there's a podcast, okay? Love podcasts. Book summaries. You can just search up this exact thing. John Mark Comer, wherever you get your podcasts.